This is the July 13th meeting of the Village of Millbrook Board of Trustees. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Starting with a roll call of the trustees.
Mayor Palpy?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Contino absent. Trustee Herzog?
Here.
Trustee Arbogast?
Here.
Trustee Dora?
Here.
Okay, thank you. First off, before we get into the agenda, which is here, well, let's just go through that. There's a couple of things we're not going to be discussing today. There's no update from the planning board or the ZBA. Buffy, you've asked that we hold off on discussing the comprehensive plan. Is that true? You want to hold off?
I think we should.
Okay,
until
fine.
the town has their first meeting about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be discussed at the town board meeting tomorrow. And the deputy mayor is out today, so we'll have no update from her. Okay, before we go on, I just want to say congratulations to Matt for what excellent job he did on doing the celebration this weekend. I really think it deserves a round of applause. And I think you were busting your butt and it really showed. So well done.
I'm already planning next year's.
I love it.
You're relentless. All right. Next topic on the agenda is the minutes approval from the last two meetings, both May 11th and June 8th. Sarah, thank you for sending those out early.
Sure.
I think it was last week. Did the trustees have a chance to review the minutes from the last two meetings?
Yes.
Any errors, corrections, or updates you'd like to add?
No.
Can I get a motion to accept those minutes for both meetings?
I'll make that
And a
motion.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, next topic on the agenda is Legislature Houston. Want to give us an update from Dutchess County?
Sure. Thanks for having me. We had our meeting on Monday night, this past Monday. It was a pretty routine agenda, I'll say. The only thing of real note on our agenda this month was approval based on the recommendation from the Farmland Protection Board on parcels of land being included in the agriculture district. There was nothing in the Village of Millbrook to be included in the ag district, but there were 3 parcels that we included in the town of Washington. And of course we did the whole county, but there were 3 town of Washington parcels. One thing I wanted to bring to your attention is due to the success of the Learn, Play, Create grant, which I was touting all last year, the county is going to use some of their ARP dollars. We're going to start another grant opportunity specific to veterans groups, VFWs, American Legions. It was brought to our attention through the Veterans Advisory Committee that many of those organizations rent out their halls to raise funds for their organizations. And due to COVID, they were unable to realize that. So we are going to, again, offer that program, it's going to be a little bit smaller. The grants are going to be between $5,000 and $15,000. And they're going to be targeted for American Legions, VFWs, and organizations such as those. And we're going to launch that next week. So I'll be reaching out to all our local veterans groups to make them aware of the opportunity and show them if they need to, how to go about it. I know early on, Trustee Herzog and I were contacted by a member of the VFW asking about some repairs to the VFW building. So I'll certainly follow up with that and reach out to that constituent and let him know that this is an opportunity to apply for a grant. So we're excited about that, and as we move forward with that, I will, bring it back and let you know if we've had anyone locally apply. The only other things of note is July 27th, County Executive Molinaro and I are going to be hosting a town hall at the Pleasant Valley Town Hall building, specific to Camp New Teaming. Some constituents have had questions and want to know kind of what's happening with Camp New Teaming, so we're going to hold a town hall there. And lastly, our August legislative meeting, we're going to hold it later in August, on August 22nd, because we're holding it at the Dutchess County Fair this year. And of course, the fair starts August 23rd. So that's really all I have for you, unless you guys have something specific for me.
Good. Any questions? Anybody? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my inability to read the agenda is significant evidence. So before I skipped to usually before we went to the voucher approval. So let's do that now. There's two sets of vouchers, two packages this month. One is to complete out the prior fiscal year, and there's a total of $31,579 there. You can see the breakout between the general fund, the water, the sewer, and also some retaining wall funds. That was for the last fiscal year. And then for this fiscal year to date, you can see that it's heavily weighted by the fact that we've received the bill to complete the project for the retaining wall, and the bill was $240,000. That project is what it was funded for. We did use all of the contingency that's in there, so the total is $240,000 to contact who did the work. We still have money, a bill to come from Dollar Engineering, who did the GC, the general contractor work, and that was projected to be about $30,000. That's still to come. But for this month's bill, you'll see the $240,000 retaining wall project in there. We also have $4,300, $4,350 for the Millbrook restoration, and that was for a partial funding of work that Zach did from Rona's to update the medical building. That's right there on Front Street, a little further south of Rona's. Do you know where that is? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's going to be, I don't know if they're in there yet, but Angels of Life is going to go into that building, which is going to be useful. Now, while I'm on the topic of the vouchers, so first off, any questions about the vouchers? Can I get a motion to accept the vouchers?
So moved.
In a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I also left in your package a copy of the operating expense report for the month, for the last fiscal year. And last month I said that we finished the year 60,000 to the green. Turns out that's now grown to 90,000. Our revenues exceeded expenses by 90,000. And that's because we received some insurance recoveries since last month, and our AIM money came in last month. And some other nickel and dime things, but the total is we actually grew our surplus by 30,000 from last month to this month. So again, a really good job for the budget. That pretty much closes it for this year. And the details are in here. If you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, we'll move on now. Let's go to fire and rescue. We'll start with Ted.
Okay, reports in front of you there on the screen. Total of 88 calls for June, 14 automatic alarms, 55 EMS calls, 4 hazmat incidents, 8 motor vehicle accidents, 1 flooding condition, 3 structure fire calls, 2 wire down or electrical related calls, and 1 public assist. The paid ambulance 4979 responded 59 times. The volunteer ambulance responded 9 times. The fire department provided mutual aid to other places 3 times, EMS 11, and no incoming mutual aid for fire this month, and 2 for EMS calls.
Very good. Any questions about the report? Ted, you want to tell us what's going on with MVP? The move of MVP?
I only have secondhand information. My understanding is that they were looking for another location to have their office and park their ambulance as a result of pending ownership change down on 343 where they were located. And so they rented a space in Mabbittsville, at the old Mabbittsville Market. I haven't personally seen it. As I understand it, it's a ground floor office at the back of the building with a parking space for their ambulance and 2 for their crew. And my understanding of it is that there was backlash from some neighbors regarding the zoning. In essence, there is no place, as I understand it, there's nowhere in the town of Washington where they can house that ambulance without a special use permit. That
Okay.
it doesn't exist.
Okay.
So I was contacted by a member of the on-duty crew one night, and they said that a lady who lived somewhere near there had come to their office there and harassed them about they're not allowed to be there, and et cetera. And I told them that if that occurred again, they should call the police. That members of the public obviously have no business harassing the crews. It's nothing to do with them, and that they should take it up with the owner of the building and,
Landlord,
and the
right.
zoning, right?
Yeah.
Zoning and Board of Appeals. And I spoke very briefly with Supervisor Safari last Thursday, and he said he was aware of it, and that it sounded like they were probably going to have to look for someplace else to move, and that they would be working on that with the town.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I also got a call from, actually I met with Gary Fair about that issue. And you spoke exactly what's going on there. They had to move from where they were at 343. They picked a spot because the landlord said that it would be okay to fix the zoning. And they're in there. They've been there for a couple of weeks, I think.
Yes.
And now there's this zoning issue. So it's TBD what happens as far as where they're going to go from there.
The lady that accosted them told them that it was zoned residential, which it's not. It's Hamlet mixed use. That's the
Mixed
only.
use, right,
That's
yeah.
the only place in the town of Washington that's not residential, basically, or rural or residential. That is Hamlet mixed use, but the previous owner of the building had a special use permit to operate a store or a retail store there, which was the deli that used to be there. And as I understand it, that certificate has expired due to the fact that it's been vacant for more than the required period of time. I think it's a year. And so in order to renew that, in order to operate anything other than anything outside of its proposed or its intended purpose, it has to have a special use permit.
Okay.
And I don't know how that factors into the Hamlet mixed use. I thought it was okay because of the zoning, but apparently it's not.
So just heads up, there's some flux going on there with MVP.
Yep.
Any questions about that?
In terms of where they're going now, if they have to leave that site, do they have someplace to go, and is there a chance to move back to the firehouse?
We discussed that. So the problem with the firehouse, there's a couple problems with the firehouse. One is that the paid service when we first had it was operating out of our members room, our membership lounge.
Right.
We were okay with that as while they were doing 12-hour shifts, while it was 6A to 6B, because in the evenings when our members wanted to use it, it was, they vacated it by that time. I'm reluctant to take that step while they're in a 24-hour service mode. There's a couple of factors in that. One is that if they're going to have 24-hour shifts, NDP is required to provide them with sleeping quarters, and we're not set up for that. There's no shower, there's no sleeping quarters, there's no division in that room where men and women could sleep separately if they wanted. You know what I mean? It's not set up that way, and we as a company are reluctant to give up that space at this point, because once we do, we won't get it back. And it's for the volunteers. Like, we put a lot of money into making that room, and we'd like to hang on to it.
Well, remember when they went to 24/7 service, they were here for a few months while they found the space, because even they said
Correct.
this was not.
It's not.
happening
Yeah,
before
they didn't want to stay here with that in that mode either.
Look to them. They've got to go find a place that
Exactly.
services them. They pay the rent for wherever they
Correct.
go.
So my guess is that they're going to have to look for a space in the village, because there is commercial and mixed use property in the village, and it's probably going to
If
cost
they
them
can find
money.
a spot.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. The other thing that is, I got an email from Kim saying that you've got a new person on the EMT team, Jonah Sheridan.
Jonah Sheridan, yes.
So I want to just have the board approve that, because I remember going to the Nikon Fest and they said in order for the person to be covered under insurance, the board had to have a record to say that they approved
Okay.
the members. So
Correct.
I want to make a motion that we approve Jonah Sheridan joining the volunteer EMT squad. Can you get a second?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We actually have
It's done.
a total of 4 new members
Oh, great.
for the fire department, and I will bring those to the board next month.
Great.
I was waiting until they were off their probationary period, but
Yeah, Yeah, that's fine.
we
It's
can
just
do it at
that,
whatever point you want.
It's a bureaucratic thing, but it's just liability coverage for them.
Yep.
Make sure they're covered for this next.
What's
Yeah.
the last name?
Sheridan.
Sheridan,
Sheridan?
Shbridan. Jones. Okay, got anything else?
Not for me.
Okay, Matt?
Just want to mention that the rest of the blinds were installed since the
Nice.
last board meeting.
Okay. Very nice.
And then the other topic is the sign.
Okay.
I have additional copies here that we lowered the height of what we originally were going with to 6 feet instead of the 10 that we originally proposed.
Okay.
I know you had some, you were in contact from the mayor about this.
I did. So,
Yeah, but first, I wanted to know, do you want to do like a tour, a walkthrough, or?
That's up to you.
So last month, I think Bucky, you asked if you could just do a little walk down there to see where exactly it's going to be. Is that
Yeah.
still worth it?
It's going to be in the exact same spot as our old sign.
Okay, at the same post, I mean.
Same
okay.
same physical location. Yeah. As
Alright.
close as possible.
I walked down there this evening before I came
Oh,
in.
you did, so you know where it is?
Both of us took a look at it.
All right, are you okay with that? Otherwise, we can all go down there.
No, I'm okay. I was down
All
there.
right, fine.
Sarah would have to carry the camera.
Well, it's our village.
What happened?
You don't have to carry the camera.
What happened?
You'd have to carry the camera.
Oh. All right, fine. Okay, then, any other updates you want to give, Matt? What you proposed last month?
That's, you want to say anything? I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah, just to reiterate, the village does have the ability to put their own conditions on this sign. How often the sign can be changed, specific colors they don't want to see on it, anything actually in general. I did state that it automatically powers down in the evening, okay, or on a very dark, stormy day. The light powers down. It's not going to look like the ones you see that are so bright because those are a different make and model, and you have to hand do that. These are set up that way, Watchfire. The biggest thing with most towns, like I said, for the last 9 or 10 years in 3-county area, I've been visiting all towns, cities, and villages and educating them on how they can make their own changes, what the signs can and can't do, and every one of them is different. You know, some want it changed only once a day. My fire departments, it's usually they don't need to change it more than once a day unless there's an emergency during the day that they need to notify the public of, or the passing of a fire member or town member, you know, the board or something. Then it may change in the middle of the day to that. But basically it's used mainly for the firehouse. They don't need to change it every day, you know. They just put one message up usually a day. And in most towns they include, in addition to the fire department, if the town would like them to, when there is a town event, they will, you know, put that on there for the town or anything special the town needs. Not individual people, not commercial businesses, nothing like that. They don't, yeah, they don't allow that. And the last thing is that it's, Amber Alert is automatic on them. That just happens. So that would be another reason it would change.
Right.
If an Amber Alert goes out, it goes up on all of the signs.
Okay, last time, I think Buffy, you asked, remember, Ken said municipalities don't have to conform to their own sign code. And you said, or maybe I said, we should check with legal. So I asked Ian to just give us some feedback in terms of what's going on as far as the legality of the situation given the sign code.
so two things. The village of Millbrook does have its own.
And just, wait a minute, so is there a way we can shut down this thing? Is this too loud? I'm gonna bring a winter coat next time, I think. But other than that, I don't know how cold you are. You okay? All right, go ahead.
So the village of Millbrook does have its own sign law in your village code. that law specifically exempts or accepts government signs from the regulations contained in the law itself. So based on that, the fire department, village, which is controlled by the village board, it's a subdivision of the village itself. I would say that any sign that the fire department has is a government sign and would be exempt from your own zoning law. There's also an argument to be made that because you're a municipality, depending on exactly what the proposed use of this is, that you're not subject to your own zoning laws and enforcement of those laws. So there's a standard to be applied to that, somewhat complicated. It's County of Monroe is the Court of Appeals case that set forth that standard. And there are 9 factors that you're supposed to consider and balance the interests. My initial analysis, I didn't look into this in great detail, is that if you're using the sign for,
Village relevant things.
yeah, for the fire department, any way, Amber Alerts, things like that, that probably would be exempt anyway. Certain government functions are not subject to your own zoning law.
Okay.
Still, in general, you have to meet New York State building code requirements. There's an argument to be made that it would be subject to, could be subject to seeker environmental review, but your specific zoning code, in which your sign code is contained, wouldn't apply. Even if you didn't have that specific
Exception.
provision in the sign code itself that says government signs are exempt.
I have a question,
Yeah.
in terms of imposing our own conditions, now, is that true? Could the village impose a legally enforceable contract or something with provisions that if we did okay this sign, that the fire department would have to abide by certain provisions? Is that something that could be done?
Because you're a village, and this is a fire department, a subdivision of the village itself, the fire department is controlled by the village board. So you can impose whatever conditions you want. You have full control over the funds that fire department spends. You can determine
Not so much funds, but if we want, no orange.
Again, the fire department is controlled by the village board and village. It's not. You're
The
not.
board is our boss. I mean,
Okay.
you're our control. You're our authority having jurisdiction.
Just wanted to confirm.
All right, good.
That would take a phone call.
Yep.
Literally, that's all.
And we actually own the building, right?
Yeah, it's village
So
property.
it's our property.
Once the sign's
so
erected, it's village property too.
it's
So the
village
village
property.
board has the ultimate say on what goes on it. That same for the sign that's there. Like if you guys called and said, hey, we're not happy with what's on the sign board, we would change it. That's a no-brainer. You guys are in charge.
And commercial ones, when I go into a town, and even fire departments where they don't have the same ordinance that you do that allows you to make that choice, and they have to go for a variance, there's always the approval is subject to, and it's very, very specific, and they're aware of that. So either way, and when they go for the variance and they have to do the environmental, to the county, they never come back with an issue as far as of the sign. They sometimes will come back on commercial ones and say, they'd rather not have them, but for secret, there's usually no issues or anything.
Okay.
Just to be clear, Ted, I didn't mean to make it sound like.
No, I understand the nature of the question. Yeah, no, it's not.
All right, so that does require the board approval, all right? And I do want to go through each of us to describe what our position is right now. But before I do that, anyone from the public who wants to make a comment about this proposal? Yes.
Just will the sign be in a frame of some sort? Like your sign out there now is that little, you know, this and kind of say, oh, thank you, thanks, Matt. Oh,
And if I can describe that, that top is not just like a flat sheet with their, with the name for the Millbrook Fire Department. That has a depth, it's a structure at the top, more modern than the roof with the shingles. And all of the lettering is cut out and raised. It's, you know, has structure to it.
so that part's not lit.
No.
And also, with our sign, it's what you see out there. It only has one side to it. As you go to other fire departments in other towns, it's two-sided. Ours is going to be the same thing, what it says, one-sided.
Yeah, because you're on the hill there, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it wouldn't be visible from the other direction,
Yeah, okay.
so there's no point in trying to do it two sides.
And if we can also inform you, one of the biggest reasons for this is a couple of the firemen, whichever ones they choose, will have access to change this
I
at a
understand
moment's
that.
notice.
I
Yeah.
get that. That certainly seems, you know, very understandable. Must be a pain to go out there and change those letters.
Well, if it's an emergency, it's
The
kind of
last
hard.
time
But
I was able to put a sign on the signboard was when Butch Anderson passed away in September. I put it on at 5 o'clock at night. By the morning, it was all on the ground. It all
Oh,
fell
so the
down.
sign is really bad.
Oh,
We
You saw it.
haven't been able to use it since last September.
It's deteriorated.
Okay.
Seen some sort of, yeah.
Anybody else from the public want to make a comment? Yeah.
I personally am interested in time, temperature, all those good things.
Forget
Street closures,
Mhm.
it's a no-brainer, I mean.
All right, anybody else? All right, look, I'm going to go through, ask each of the trustees, and I'll start with myself. I've already talked to Ted and Matt and told them that I don't agree with this proposal for this electric sign for 3 reasons. The first is, when I look at the electronic signs around the area, Pleasant Valley, LaGrange, of course, Unionville, I don't believe the electronic sign gives the kind of ambience that we want in the village of Millbrook, to keep Millbrook as Millbrook. Now, everyone agrees the sign should be replaced, and everyone agrees that we don't want it to look like Unionville, so the proposal is to make modifications, to put constraints on it. My concern, so my second point is, you know, we're gonna go and put constraints on it, we're gonna put the sign in, we're gonna turn it on, and then we're gonna see what it looks like. And I'm afraid we're gonna have an oh shucks moment when we finally see what it looks like. It's a possibility, I'm just afraid of it. Which means there's a risk there that I just am not comfortable taking. And my third issue is, when I drive south on 82, and I first have to pass the Unionville sign, of course, we've already discussed that. But then I get to the LaGrange Firehouse on 82, and they've got a conventional sign, and it's nice and white background, it's got magnetic letters, it just looks cleaner, it's not electronic, it just looks more like what I think we ought to have in Millbrook. And that's my opinion. I'm one of the 5 trustees. So let's move on. The deputy mayor's not here, so let's go to Trustee Michael. What's your opinion?
Well, first thing is I share the second concern that the mayor has at the moment. We very seldom have much of a response to people showing up at the meetings, especially, you know, because I think in most cases people are fairly happy with the decisions we've made and whatever. But I think especially people who live around here in the apartments above the stores on this street and others, as well as Tribute Gardens, whose home is right next door. I'd like to know from them if they have any concerns long before we go ahead and put the sign in and then deal with complaints afterwards. And I think abutters, meaning the neighbors, should have a very strong opportunity to be able to be informed, even though I know we're going to go through a planning board procedure where that would happen with mailings and everything else, but some way to make sure that people who surround the firehouse and live nearby feel like it's not going to be something that's going to be an imposition. that's my second concern. And I know people who have heard, and it's a very small, limited number, about the change to go to electronic sign. Most of the comments I've had are negative. They don't want, and it's more to do with what Tim has just said about they understand the positive points of it, the emergency notifications, and the fact that we definitely need something out there, but that it's really not necessary in an age where everyone has emergency notifications right on their phone that they get constantly, so that it's not something where anyone's going to be driving to the firehouse to find out that this road is closed or that there's an emergency with a fire in some place nearby, because all that is very easily done on the cell phone long before they're going to be down here looking at it. So I don't think the emergency notifications are as much of an issue as they might have been even 15, 20 years ago. So at this point, I'd like to give it more time to give people in the community at least one more month or a meeting to be able to weigh in and give us more feedback.
So you'd like to table it for the,
Yeah.
okay. Trustee Buffy?
I see both sides of it. I definitely agree that it doesn't really go with sort of the aesthetics of Millbrook. It would be nice to have a sign that was in the 21st century that you could actually like post stuff from your computers and emergencies and so forth. I am concerned about the lighting and how it would look and so forth. I guess I have a question. You said you reduced the size of the sign, but I'm looking here, but with the header of the Millbrook Fire Department, it's still 6'6", correct?
The height, yes. It was the height up and down.
Overall height, from ground to the top of the sign.
The initial drawing that was closer to 10 feet.
It's actually 2 to 3 inches shorter than what's there now, is what it'll be.
Okay, thank you. I see both sides of it. I'm not really sure at this point where I stand. I've been thinking about it a lot. I walked over there this evening. I was over there. Every time I drive by, I've been looking at it. And the sign definitely needs to be replaced with what I am not sure. I guess my question is how often, when you had the sign and it was working and you could post stuff, like how often were you actually doing it? Was it a part of a daily routine, a weekly routine? Like what were you posting? Were you never posting if it was a pain? Like
No, we were posting. I mean, we would post when a member would pass away. We'd post for holiday events. Sometimes there was times when there wasn't anything up there for a month.
I would say every month or so it would get changed, depending on. We've never used it for emergency notification, and I personally, I don't see the utility of it for that either. That's not my interest in it. Our purpose for it is more for fire department events, members passing away. We had members of the public come up to us at the block party on this Friday night and say, we didn't know about this because the publicity wasn't very good. It was on our Facebook page, it was on the Instagram, it was, I don't know what else they want, but the sign gives us another, we always had our carnival, we've always had our carnival posted on there with the dates for the carnival and the dates of the times of the parade and things like that. Any elections, we've put on there before, any special instructions, things like that, because this is a polling place, and it's, the emergency notification thing is like, I'm sorry, Nancy said, the Amber Alert thing is automatic, so that's a given, but it's not something that we would go running to our phone to try to put in because we had to close Church Street for some reason. We don't have time for that in the middle of an incident. It's not the top, it's not our top priority. So, the point of this particular type of sign is that we're volunteers. Like we spend a lot of hours here every month, and coming down to spend another hour to change the sign is just one more thing. Is that something? So it's a time saving for us when we're already, when there's already a huge demand on our time just to do what we do here every day. And it would be much easier to be able to, excuse me, to be able to change that sign, you know, from home or you know, from in the office while we're doing something else. It just gives us a little more flexibility.
That's a fair point.
And I don't know, you know, the Grange Station 1 has the same style as what we have with the letters that stick on. They have paid people that sit there all day. I don't know if those guys do it or if the members of the volunteer house come down and change the sign. But again, it's man hours, it's time, and there's just only so much of it in a day.
So when you're not posting anything, it's just black and it's not illuminated in any type of way. It doesn't.
There could be a placeholding message, like Bob said, banks to have the time or the temperature. I know that's not a thing, but it could be blank. We could just have a message that, like an emblem, you know, our company emblem. It's up to the village. Like I said, you guys it's your property.
I think we should decide first off, you know, yay or nay, and then we can talk about the constraints we're talking about. You know,
Yeah, I just have one question for Ian. Like, so we're not opening a floodgate with our sign code that we just put in place for other people to come down and say, well, you gave, you know, the fire department permission to do this. It's because we're a government entity that we have the right to do this.
Correct. Under your sign code, there's a specific exception for government signs. So legally, you're not required to follow your own sign code.
Well, wait, I thought the perspective was this. Where you pulled the rug out from underneath me was, legally, the sign code says we have an exception in there for government signs.
Correct.
So legally, we're following the sign code by allowing the sign. Okay? Because it says, because you say the fire department is a government entity of the village, and the sign code specifically says, under the exceptions category, government signs. So what you told me is, therefore, this sign conforms to the sign code.
It does.
It's an exception in the sign code that's allowed.
Yeah, because there's an exception.
Right.
So you're not.
So I guess what I'm asking is, like, if the town of Washington wants to put one in front of their building, are we, because they're a government entity and they're in the village, or is it?
We have to approve it. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, no. If you're so the town hall is within the
village.
confines of the village, so the same rule would apply. It's a government sign.
Yeah.
It would not be subject to your sign code.
So we would, the village board would have to approve it though, right?
No, you have no jurisdiction over.
So that's, there, you know.
It's the same reason all the schools have a lighted sign in front of them. They're not subject to the code either because it's government.
Yeah, okay.
There's one that stares right in front of my house.
All right, so
I'm
the
not
answer-
terribly fond of it, but so I get where you're coming
Well, this
from,
thing is,
but it's legal. So.
we're pulling away, but
Okay.
your question was basically, does it conform? The answer is yes, because there is an exemption for government signs.
Correct. What I think what you were suggesting is that going to open a can of worms, and somebody else, some other property owner says, well, why can't my sign look like the fire department's? Because, and, there's an argument to be made that can happen, but under your sign code, it would be legal.
No, wait. Under our sign code, if a store comes forward and says they want to put an electric sign in, the answer is no.
Correct.
The sign code
They're
doesn't allow
subject to. What you're doing is legal under your sign
Under
code.
our own code, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I think it's understandable.
May I just respond to a couple of your,
Wait, I'm going to
Okay.
hear Buffy finish. So,
I am, thank you.
no, what's your position?
Oh,
Yes, no, table.
I like the table and I'm still on the fence.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sort of,
That's fine.
I do agree with Mike that I think maybe we should ask some of the neighbors what they think. I think that's a good idea.
I should put it into the newsletter.
And if
It should try to
if
get
no
more-
one comes forward with any concerns,
Yeah.
That's
All right, so Nancy, why don't you hold your do we talk to Peter here? Do you mind?
Peter?
Trustee Peter?
Yeah.
Let's
No,
go
I'm
to-
sorry, I thought you already talked, but I can respond
So what's
to
your
those for
position?
you.
Yeah, I think Trustee Herzog has a great idea. If we need more time to look at this, then we shouldn't have a vote tonight. We delay votes all the time. Live right up the street. I don't particularly have an issue with this sign, so you don't have to knock on my door. I appreciate the aesthetic concerns that are being articulated, and I share them as well. And I think what we just talked about was that we can lay out certain ground rules that they'll have to follow, and I think everyone is sort of okay with that. These are first responders. They do great work for the village and the town, and we'll never be able to repay them in any sort of monetary way. So supporting them in these type of endeavors with zero cost to taxpayers, I think is the least that we can do. And so that's sort of where I stand at this point.
So that sounds like you're for it, or you're still.
Are we having an official vote here?
No. I just want to know where you're leaning.
I'm leaning yes.
Okay, fine. All right.
Can I just make one other comment regarding the neighboring properties? The thing that sticks in my craw about all that is that it doesn't face any of them. Like you literally cannot see that sign from any of these windows. It doesn't face any buildings. It doesn't face any residences. It doesn't even face. It faces a street with a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit where people habitually drive much slower.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no danger of someone being distracted by the sign in the process of driving. Like if there's any location in the village of Millbrook or the town of Washington where this sign is less likely to be in imposition, I don't know where it is. Like I can't conceive of a place where it's going to be less annoying.
All right.
Like it doesn't.
Nobody
looks at it.
On that regards, I was concerned too. Mike, you said the neighboring person on Tribute Gardens. There's no houses over there.
There's nobody there. It's a field.
No, I understand. I'm talking about the fact that they are your neighbors, and therefore that their opinion on having the sign should be taken into account. I'm not them more than anyone else. I'm just saying anyone who's got to be have property next to it has a right to be able to express opinion on it. And I think that's something that I don't want surprises any more than the next person. Is what I'm saying.
So we have to figure out some way to get the word out, to get people to weigh in, because like one of you said, the worst thing is we approve it, we put it in place, and all of a sudden people say, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? And I'm really surprised we don't have any people from the village here today to give their opinions one way or the other. So,
did other people in the village know about it?
I don't know. But let me tell you, I was surprised. The people I've talked to about it, all but one of them, it was me initiating. Hey, the fire department just put up a sign. What do you think? It wasn't people coming to me and saying, "Hey, here's what I think about the sign." So
honestly, I don't think it's really even on anybody's radar.
Maybe that's it too, right?
Until they notice it's changed.
Well, one question I have, Matt, is you said that a few years ago, this is back before the sign code was updated. This is a prior administration. You brought forward to the board a request for an electronic sign,
Right.
and it was tabled, I think. Why didn't you bring it back to the board? Why was it tabled, and why didn't you bring it back to the board?
It was tabled due to opposition from board members at the time.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So what reason?
Well,
Mike, you were there. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was tabled because we had just gone through a 2.5-year process. Not me personally, but others had gone developing a sign code, and the the sign going in at the time was going to be a direct violation, and the people who were putting the sign code together were real upset about. This is great. We got a sign code that says no electronics, and we just barely passed it, or on the verge of passing it, and the next thing you're going to do is put up an electronic sign. That's not a good idea, and that was part of what we were listening to at the time, which is why there was opposition. And whether it's well-founded or not, I just want to make sure we don't fall into that trap of people not being aware and then going ahead and coming back later with sour grapes. That's all.
The risk of repeating ourselves, the village risks nothing. Like literally nothing.
Yeah.
You're not laying out any money. If you put it up and don't like it, you could come to us the next day and say we don't like it anymore.
Well, that's.
We're not.
I wouldn't want to put you in that position. That's not fair to you.
Look,
I think
if we agree to it, we bought it. We're not going to put it up and then say, oh, $25,000, just take it down. Matt.
Nancy does have a mobile electronic vehicle that she can bring out so you guys can see exactly what it's going to look like before it goes up.
We have a mobile truck, that has the sign house right in it. It will come up. It will be from your website. It will be set up with different messages for the fire department.
Let's do that.
If you have a way to send that out or whatever it is you do in town to try to get people to notice something, we can have the date and the time of when they'd be able to view
That's a
it.
great idea.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
that's
fabulous
And
idea.
Yeah, it's great.
and also,
Tonight.
you know, at a certain time of night, you can have it go black, unless they get an emergency call or something has to go on, and then they would put it on. But or it could just go to time and temp.
I think, what in essence you're saying is we could do a trial run. I
Yeah,
think that's.
that's
Yeah,
exactly.
I
think
can have
that's
that truck pull right up in front of where the sign is now, and you will, as the public, be in different areas of, like, if you were coming around this corner or you were coming down this way, you'll walk it, go back to the street, walk up on it, you'll see the clarity of it, you'll see the color of it, you'll see that there are no pixels, it will be as clear as a television screen.
So when do we want to do that? What would be the ideal time to give us time to try to stoke up interest in people coming out to look at it? And then
I
set it
could
up?
suggest that it be sometime within the next few weeks. We actually have an apparatus out of service right now, so parking something on that apron is not going to bother us.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. I think that's fabulous.
So what if we say in 2 weeks?
Does it matter what night? Because I have to contact them, they're all over the place.
Once you find out when you can do it,
Okay,
no sooner than 2 weeks.
and like 6 o'clock?
Well, how long can it stay there?
Oh, well, the guy is driving it, so
No,
it'll
it
just
can't
be
stay
the-
overnight?
No, it wouldn't stay overnight.
Okay.
It just gives you an up close and personal look at it.
All right, so once you come back and give us a date, give Matt a date, he'll be our focal point.
And so, like, it's 6 o'clock in the evening works better. People will be home from work if they want to come look and all.
Or say from
That
like
makes
5 to
sense.
7, maybe, so people gets a little daylight and a little dusk.
Maybe a little later because
Yeah, like
it
5
gets
to
dark.
9. Well, let's see it go 5 to
It
9.
gets dark
You'll
earlier.
get the Moronis traffic too.
I'm
like,
sorry?
You'll get the Moronis
Yeah,
traffic
because
and
they're
getting
still,
their
Okay.
stuff.
they're still open that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How late can it be here?
I'll
Few
talk
hours,
to, I'll talk to the driver.
You can get
He'll
him
be
a ride
coming
home
from
if you-
Connecticut. I'll take him to
I'm sorry?
dinner. I'll
Yeah,
take
we
him up to,
forgot something.
what's it? No,
Yeah.
what's this one right up here? I went there a few weeks ago. It was very good.
All right, so then, Matt, you'll
Yeah.
find out from Nancy when. You'll let me know. We'll figure out how to publicize it and get people to come out and look at it. All right?
Okay.
That works.
Thank you for your
It'll
patience.
just be a
with that.
weeknight.
I'm sorry?
It'll just be a weeknight when they're available. I'll get a
Fine.
couple options for you.
All right. Or weekend? Is that better or not?
Probably not.
Okay.
Who enforces the sign code?
Who enforces the Ken McLaughlin and as required, the planning board and the ZBA? Yeah. Okay.
You just have to submit the application for a sign. They review it, and the building department reviews it. And
All right,
I'm
any,
talking about the signs that are illegal right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm just saying when I do regular
Enforce it.
signs here, in
Yeah.
Millbrook, that's how it works.
yeah, Ken.
What's that? Yeah, the one on Church Street.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding this proposal? All right, the plan is we'll go back when they're gonna have the, a demo that we can
Sarah,
show
put it
info.
on the website. And
We'll figure out a way to publicize it. Yeah, maybe we'll send out a Blackboard thing, maybe I'll put it in the newsletter for
a
sure.
couple days ahead, so they're
Okay, good. Anything else? All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Officer Witt,
Good evening.
good evening.
Up there you'll see the report for June of this year. A total of 95 incidents in the month of June. 13 traffic tickets, 6 parking tickets, 3 auto accidents, 2 of which were injury accidents, 1 road hazard, 1 traffic detail. We assisted the state police 7 times, the sheriff's office 4 times, and the town of Washington dog control twice. Assisted the fire department 5 times, the EMS 17 times, 3 court details, and assisted the central school district with lockdown drills and fire drills and their field days. We had 2 trespass complaints, 3 disorderly conducts, 1 larceny, and 2 criminal mischiefs in the month of June. For public service, 2 animal complaints, 1 attempted suicide, 2 burglar alarms, 1 lockout, 1 runaway who was located, 1 property complaint, 1 FOIL, 1 misdial, and 2 welfare checks. We assisted citizen once. We found open door at one of the buildings in the village one time. We did 17 school checks and 3 specific foot patrols. We also completed the MECAC had their fun run. I don't know, and that went seamlessly.
Yeah, good.
So other than that, we did. We rolled out the speed sign last month, and I started off on Alden Place, where we've had a number of complaints of speeding vehicles over the past 5, 6, I don't know, 13 years that I've been here, that I can attest to. So I took a random sampling here from June 23rd through the 30th, when the school was still open at the time. It was the end of the school year, but so in that 1 week time frame, there was 2,900 vehicles that passed the sign. Out of that, we had, so it breaks it down into four.
Could you show them the?
Yeah, I was just getting there. It shows it displays it as compliant, low risk, medium risk, and high risk.
That's the columns.
From green to red.
Yeah, that's the columns.
Okay. Compliant is self-explanatory. Low risk is less than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. A medium risk is between 10 and 20 miles over the vehicles that were in the high risk. There were 7 vehicles in that week that were in the medium risk. So they were 10 miles over. It could have been 35. It could have been 44. It didn't hit to the next one. So low risk, there was 252, but that could be pinging off of them doing 26 miles an hour. That's a window of 26 to 35. I mean, so still less than 10% of the vehicles going down Alden Place in that 1 week time frame were exceeding the speed limit. So in that time frame, we had 2,641 vehicles that were compliant. So, it's a position that myself and my colleagues have reiterated over the past 13 years that, yes, there are people here that are exceeding the speed limit, but it's not to the point that that some of the general public has made it out to be. It's manageable. I mean, clearly we now know that we have about 1 in 10 vehicles that are exceeding the speed limit. But again, this data, they could have been driving 26 or 27 miles an hour, which yes is speeding, but it's.
I believe the report keeps track of the individual data, right?
It does.
So you could actually find out is it toward the low end or the high end. But the point is, it certainly isn't in the area of.
Right. I mean, we had 7 vehicles that maybe were going 35 miles an hour out of nearly 3,000 vehicles.
So it's way less than 10%. It's actually
right. Well, that's the
close.
Yeah.
Well, the low, medium, and high risk totaled up to 259 out of 2,900. So people exceeding 25 miles an hour is roughly 10, but if you want to get into what may be considered a more dangerous speed, it's 7 out of nearly 3,000.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
It's a handful.
And like I said, for us, we go extensively through the radar training, speed estimation training, and things like this. We know when somebody's speeding just by looking at them for the most part.
But you can't be there all the time.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
what's nice about this is we actually bought 5 brackets. The cloud was placed around the village. They started off on Alden. It's now situated on Harts Village.
Correct.
Coming into the village. Bobby put one on Franklin up by the
It's
store.
a secret. You're not supposed to tell it.
Yeah, that's.
Why? Why?
I'm going to catch him.
You'll catch him? So
Yeah, there's one on Franklin
It's not
and
gonna take a
there's
picture.
one on 9 Partners.
my apartment.
Bob, the bracket doesn't catch anybody. It's not just the sign. And I think they'll know when the sign goes out. All right?
I would like to at some point put them up. There's different ways to use this sign where it's not illuminated, and see if we have if the numbers give a different story.
That's interesting. All right. Well,
You know,
first
because,
off,
I mean, you see if you're speeding, you see the sign flashing at you, it's flashing a light, and you say, oh, let me slow down. If you don't see it operational, you may get a more true picture of how people are driving.
The real purpose of it is for safety, and it certainly works with me. When I see the flashing light, I slow down.
Correct.
And I think job one should be get people to slow down. We're not trying to catch people.
I didn't say we were going to. I just would like to have an accurate picture of. I mean, you know the sayings: "No cop, no stop." You know, you don't see. You know, the cop's not sitting there. People roll through the stop sign. You see the speed sign illuminating. You're going to slow down. I just would like to see maybe an accurate picture of.
That's fine. But right now, you're basically moving around, gathering data, seeing where the hotspots are. By the way, if we get a grant from New York State, we're going to buy a second one, right? We'll put permanently up and then move one around. But anyway, you know, now about the brackets around, you've got the ability to basically move it at will.
Yep.
All right. It is battery operated. The batteries only last about 2.5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's about
And it's all software controlled, Wi-Fi controlled, and Officer Witt has remote capability. You can look at it from his terminal to find out how the battery's doing and what the data is without actually going to the sign. So I'm really excited about it.
It also does have a tamper-resistant feature, general public.
Right.
If you're tampering with it, it will take your picture.
Take a picture, right? Yeah. We actually have a good picture of Bob's shorts when he was removing them. But yeah, the temper thing does. It actually sends out an email with the picture when someone goes and tries to do something with the sign. All right. Any questions about that? Good. All right. Anything else?
Do we want to talk about personnel today?
Sure. Because she said she's okay with us.
Yeah.
And by the way, everybody at the block party knew about it.
I figured as much. But Officer Aloisio has tendered her resignation for the end of the month. She's moving on to a different department with a few more opportunities for growth. So we wish her good luck, and we will. It's gonna be hard shoes to fill, but wish her the best and a safe and happy career elsewhere.
And what about Officer Bill coming on board?
Yes, Officer Richie started. He worked his first shift on Sunday. We did 5 or 6 hours of field training back at the end of June. He has some things scheduled, so he picked up a couple of shifts for this month, and he'll be in the full rotation for August.
Okay, good. With Officer Kelly leaving, I told Officer Witt to start checking around to see if we can find another place. Because Officer Bill Ritchie was supposed to be there to cover when Officer Witt is on vacation, taking personal time or whatever, or out sick, all right? Because he can do day shifts, which Officer Kelly can do a lot too. All right?
Yeah, she
So
was
between
Officer Ritchie and Officer Aloisio, they were my go-to for.
So we need somebody to backfill for Officer Aloisio, at least to cover the time. Not that we can cover our skills. We're actually different community, but we need to start shaking that tree.
Yes, sir.
And where are we with the active shooter training plan? As well as the equipment requirements.
The pistols we're getting, and the rifles I'm still speaking with Matt on which one which is the best fit.
I still want you to bring to the board. Here's the plan. It includes the equipment. It includes the training.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Can we do that for next month?
Yes, sir.
All right. Questions for Officer Witt? Go from the board or from the audience? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Bob.
Okay. Our summer brush pickup ended in June, but we yesterday was the first actual Tuesday, not Monday, for July, where we had the one-day pickup. That'll be continuing in August and September. Everybody followed the rules. They got what they needed to get out on Monday, and we picked everything up Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, the next scheduled pickup is actually Tuesday the 9th. Monday is the last day to put brush out.
Okay.
Okay. We cut the road for VRI to do a manhole replacement.
Is that a picture you got?
This pictures of, well, no,
Oh, that's
that's
the street. Is this the manhole?
that's the fill-ins.
No, okay.
Yeah, we don't have a picture of the cutout.
All right, fine.
Okay. Service the backhoe in-house. Did storm cleanup and catch basin clean off. We started doing weed killing, low branch trimming, which basically are the branches that hang over sidewalks, and if I can't clear them, we take them down.
Okay.
Cold patch potholes, which is ongoing. Like you said, we installed the speed sign brackets on Alden, 9 Partners, and Harts Village.
You're in Franklin, right?
And Franklin, I'm sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
I left that one.
Do you still have one left over, or you put 2 on all of them? That's right.
Yeah, there's 2 on Alden,
Yeah.
the one on 9 Partners, and Harts Village. Hot paved the manhole repairs on Front Street, Deneen, and Reservoir. Those are the pictures that you saw that you looked at. Painted the truck bodies. Hot patched areas on 9 Partners in preparation for oil and stoning in August, which I'll give you those dates. Assisted Millbrook Electric with the repair of the Franklin Avenue street light. Now, this, I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is why it was out.
Much hanging around. That's the one.
It's a little bit very. Try not to touch the white part below the stains. The white part is what blew up. Look the other end. There we go. That's not supposed to be bubbled and corroded like that.
So this was the last of the lamp posts that were out of commission. This is the one in front of Fox and Hare. It's been out for years, over a year.
Yeah, that's aluminum wiring. The whole village is aluminum wiring and very susceptible to corrosion. That's what that. If I opened that tape up, it would just go, it just disintegrate. So that was the cause of that light being out. And that's not a hot wire. That's the feedback wire.
That's the neutral.
Yeah, it's the neutral. All the lights are going to be that way. Luckily, this was in the grass, so it was a nice, easy. Well, it wasn't.
Well, you got the picture there, right?
You can get to those pictures.
There's the picture.
That's
here's the wire.
The wire came out of the concrete and into that tube that you see there, which was the old lamppost. That's a fiberglass tube that the old green lampposts before my time.
This is in the area between the street and the sidewalk, right in front of Fox and Hare.
Right. So, like I said, luckily we were able to get to it, and the break was right there, so we didn't have to go any further. But again, you don't know how that could be anywhere down that line.
So what he's saying is, when I said, "Hallelujah, we're finished with the lamppost," he said, "No."
No.
It's a
Hopefully.
ticking time bomb.
I mean, hopefully, but when they put them in, they didn't put any conduit around them. So that's what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
To piggyback on this, when we do the sidewalks, I think since everything is going to be exposed, we should include in there rewiring that stretch. And that way it'll be done the right way, even if they're not blown out like that. Eventually it can happen. A lot of it is the trucks and cars, there's a lot of traffic on it.
Yeah, sure.
So that happens. And they crisscross all over the place.
They cross over Franklin.
Yeah. So we were able to get Central Hudson in to shut the power down, and they were out the next day to get them back online. So all the timing worked out perfectly.
Good.
And it made it relatively simple. But when we do the new sidewalks, it's only involving 2 lights, 3 lights, depending on what side. But we might as well just rerun.
Absolutely.
Rerun those wires, get all new connections, and then it'll last for a long time. Okay, any questions on the street light? Okay. If anybody knows when they were put in, I'd like to know. Nobody seems to know when they were installed.
Kathy Shanks might know.
Yeah,
She's the one who seems to have records of this.
I know.
Because when that wall was taken out down on the green.
Skip Safari put them in,
Is that right?
but
Oh,
I haven't been able to,
all right.
I don't know, he might remember.
All right.
I'm just curious, it's not that, just to put it in the records.
Mm-hmm.
We installed a new stop sign on Haight Avenue, put out extra trash barrels for the parade, and we'll be doing that for any events.
Or 3-day weekends too.
Or 3-day weekends, community days, stuff like that. We have 4 extra bales we can put out. 3 of them we lent to the firehouse, so they have them on the green.
Good.
Out on a Limb came down this week and took 5 trees down and also trimmed some hazardous limbs on 9 partners. We're going to be having the stumps that we took on the major trees. They're going to be coming out probably next week or the week after to grind the bigger stumps. Not on the list today, we repaired 2 catch basins. And as far as our future paving, we're going to be chip sealing, which is, some people call it oil and stone, 9 partners on August 3rd, weather permitting. Chip sealing is basically, we lay down a sheet of oil, and following that oil is a truck that distributes stone that is then rolled, and that is what that literally is doing, is sealing all the cracks in the street and preventing water from getting underneath, which causes potholes.
So it's a way to preserve, to lengthen the life of the asphalt.
It goes too much, then you end up repaving something that you just paved 10 years ago. So the chip sealing will be done on that one. Also on Linden.
So all of Linden Court and
All
Linden
of
Lane?
Linden, yeah, no, we're gonna do the whole thing.
Okay.
Because that's been beat up pretty good.
And the total cost for all that is?
I believe it's gonna be somewhere between 18 and 20. And Chip's money is gonna cover it.
Okay, good. So that's the new news from I sent an email to the trustees with your plan. And that's what's new news, is that Chip's now said they will cover it.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, that's gonna,
So it's not coming out of the line, the
Right.
streets line item of the budget.
now some of the pictures that were on there, those paving pictures, that one.
What is this?
That was, there was an oil, there was a water leak there, but also that area was beat up, so that was done. When that's oil and stone, it's a nice fresh surface.
Where is this at? How close are you to 44? Is it
What
just
would
up
you
the
say?
hill?
300 feet?
300 feet?
Oh, right up the hill then?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
right,
all right.
you
I know
can
where it
see
is.
where it's turning.
Yep, I can see, okay.
Keep going.
All right. Where's this at?
Those are also where the manholes were done.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so 3 different manholes, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right.
And up further.
No?
That's it. That's
That's
all
it.
the only ones. Okay.
Yeah.
If you drive down 9 Partners, you'll see black patches all over the road, and those are any ruts, cracks, drop-offs. They were hot patched.
In preparation for the
In
old
preparation for the, so that there's a nice even base. Also in preparation for that, I have the street cleaning, sweepers have to come out just before we do that so that there isn't gravel, dirt, leaves, all that stuff underneath it. And all the grass will be cut back courtesy of the town of Washington. There'll be roadside mowing for us because we don't have the capability of that.
On 9 partners?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So that's all involved when you do that operation.
Now, how much does town of Washington do for us? Do they do the rolling, or do you do the rolling?
No, that's all included. What they will do is, all the stone has already been brought over to their facility, and what happens is there'll be 3 trucks from them. They'll be loading their trucks and bringing them up as they're done.
Okay.
And it's a pretty cool process.
Right.
Once the oil's down, there's a machine that the trucks feed into. They're literally pulled by the machine. It feeds into that and it
Disperses the.
disperses it.
It's pretty
Yeah.
uniform layer of.
Yeah,
gravel.
very uniform. And they can control that, how wide it is, how narrow it is. So it's pretty neat. But it's a 1-day thing, and you can drive on it literally right after that. And once it's rolled.
You can drive slow on it with the gravel.
Well, there'll be signs put up, loose stone
Yeah, okay.
and fresh oil
All right.
at each end of the road. So hopefully people will take heed. The paving of North Avenue is set right now. It's a little tentative, but it's set for the 12th and 13th of September. Milling of the street will be on the 12th, and the paving will be on the 13th. And what the town does for us on that is they cart away the millings.
Yeah,
The
okay.
machine puts them into their truck, and the benefit to them is they get to use those
They
millings
use those
on
on
their
their own
dirt
roads.
roads and
Right.
things like that. So there's a big pile on Church Street right now, and they cut into that whenever they need it. It's a nice benefit for them. But yeah, they take care of the trucking for us. And I think that's it.
So with chips covering the oil and stone, is there money available to also pave Reservoir this year?
No,
Why not?
because you're using the CHIPS money. There wouldn't be enough.
Oh, I'm sorry,
You're
sorry.
actually taking CHIPS money away.
You're right.
So, yeah, but
Well-
you will have CHIPS money left.
53,000, yeah, that's right.
You'll have leftover CHIPS
Yeah.
money, so that next year, the new CHIPS money will more than cover Reservoir and possibly something else.
Okay.
That will
All right, so
make
this
a
year
deci-
all
we'll
we're gonna
make a
do is
decision on
pave
that
North
next
Avenue.
year.
The last of the interests is in the village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And North Avenue as well, it needs it. It's gonna be pretty extensive because of that big, everybody knows about that
Big
big
hump
hump
there.
in the road.
Yeah.
And in front of the church, they paved into the road, and that just flattened it. So that's gonna have to be milled, even though it's new, if it's done right.
Right.
So,
What do you do trimming low branches? What do you trim low branches at? What's that?
the trees that you walk into when you walk on the sidewalk.
Oh, on the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are, we trim stuff that I see, when our truck hits them, they gotta come,
Okay.
the oil trucks and things like
That
that.
makes sense.
I mean, they're not a road,
There's a couple signs on Church Street coming into the village that have got vines climbing up. Could you check those out, see if they could be
Okay.
trimmed out? I just noticed that the other day. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to point out that Bob also takes care of when not just on entrances to the village, but on places like Maple Avenue, Haight Avenue, and other places where you have trees fairly close to the road. Then routinely you have to go back every once in a while and just trim back branches because
Okay.
it's not just trucks going past them, but on Haight, almost directly across from my house, you have this beautiful set of trees that are there, but the branches are so low that they literally, even on vans, they can swipe.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, he's good about going through the village on a regular basis and seeing what side streets have, so no one gets their windshield whacked by
Yeah, all
a
right.
low
All right,
branch.
good.
eventually, we're gonna have to do some more trimming on Franklin Avenue, because we've had some business people ask me, the branches are on my roof.
Oh, the stupid
They're
trees.
rubbing
Okay.
into the windows,
Yeah, okay.
and that's something they're too hard, we can't, I wouldn't even attempt it, so. We'll see what we got with that on a limb and have them come forward.
I actually got a request from somebody to trim their trees in the front of their house, and I said, we didn't do that. I didn't realize that we did that.
Well, it depends on,
Okay.
Location and how.
depends on what it is,
Yeah.
and if, it's a problem, like, they were our trees, we just did some on 9 Partners that, they were so dead, it was crazy, and it's just avoiding a problem.
All right.
That's the biggest thing.
Okay. Any other questions for Bob?
Just information, and that is, we've, in terms of stumps, we've got the one huge stump that's up on the top of the page. We've got another stump that's on village property, which would be by the water tower where the tree was taken down 2 years ago. That's two. We now have two in front of the village hall itself. So we're trying to come up with we said try to come up with three and go through the village.
Yeah, just give me a list of them. And,
yeah, so those
I'll
three
let
or
them know,
four.
because to have them come out to do one is a waste.
Yeah, right.
It's a waste of money.
I think, yeah.
And the way they do them so quick. It's just worth it to have a bunch of them. Let them do the whole. They'll do a day's worth and get them all done at once.
And also in conjunction with you and I, how we work together on the Shade Tree Commission, I stopped by 48 Maple, and they have not occupied the house yet. They're still doing renovations on the house and whatever, so there's nobody home, but I'm working on trying to get some contact information to reach them so we can inform them about review of that tree in front. So we'll do that, because that's another one that's gonna be a massive cleanup in terms of the
That's going to be a big
system.
stump.
That's, big stump's gonna be left, so, but it's not, we're not gonna get to it by the time Howard wants to come and do the
Yeah.
others. So,
That's fine. Just let
Okay,
them know.
anything else?
that's it.
Okay, Scott.
All right. I will start with the water report. For the month of June, we produced 6,290,450 gallons of water. Average daily flow was 209,700 gallons. Performed all monthly maintenance and sampling. Read all the water meters. We had a service line leak at Berry Apartments off of Parks Village that's been fixed. We also investigated a possible leak out on the golf course, and at this time it's undetermined. I can't determine if it's a leak on our line or not. So we're going to wait and monitor it for now. And I met with Larry Shapiro, George Whalen, Tim and Vicky to discuss plans for water lines at Exmoor House and the Bennett Park.
By the way, so they agreed that they would run the new line to the president's house, right?
Yep.
And George, I talked to him after our meeting, and he agreed that they would also pay for the work to rerun the water line going to the pool. Well, what's going to happen is when they take the pool out, they're going to leave the bathhouse down there for the park. And there was a problem where the water line going to the pool was not deep enough. You said it was like 18 inches or something?
Yeah, it's not below the frost line.
Right.
They have a constant problem with it in the winter. They've had it freeze over the years. The last probably 5 years I've been shutting them off at their request, so preventing that. So I brought that up to George and them because they were going to use it, that they might want to replace it before they put this beautiful park in.
Might want, yeah.
So that's what.
Yeah, so the initial proposal, they wanted us to share the cost of it, and we came back later and said, no, but they'll take care of the whole thing. If I will waive the permit fee. And I said, thank you very much. So we'll do that. But they're gonna fix that water line. Okay, good.
Want to talk about the PFOA?
Yeah, the PFOAs.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody's up to date with the PFOAs and PFOS, but there was an article in the Poughkeepsie Journal at the end of June regarding what they call the forever chemicals. We've been testing for them since last year. EPA put out regulations, actually within 16, but they didn't require testing until last year. These chemicals are found in stain-resistant clothing, non-stick cookware, fire foam.
Fire foam, right.
Which I think that's what got things started, because I think over in Newburgh, right
Right by the airport,
right?
they had a big problem. Right.
So when they put out their initial regulations, they put the limits at 70 parts per trillion. New York set their own at 10 parts per trillion. Now the EPA has come out and said, well, we made a mistake. basically, and they're gonna lower it. They want to get it to near zero. So New York's already at 10. New York's weight hasn't changed anything. This is just all starting to change now. Thankfully here in Millbrook we are at a non-detect level.
All the tests we've done so far have been
Yep.
detected.
Correct. We got to test again this quarter.
It's a quarterly testing.
Well, yeah, it was quarterly, but then it's because we came back non-detect the first 2 quarters, the state allowed us to go to an annual.
Oh, okay.
For, until, I don't know when, but at least the annual for now. So our water is non-detect now. The lab, I believe, can detect down to 1 part per trillion. So the, like I said, the limit's 10 parts per trillion. So to quantify that, just to give you a visual, 1 part per trillion is about 1 drop of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So if you can envision that, it's a lot. So it's pretty small, and I don't know at this point if there's equipment that can actually detect it down to where the EPA wants it. I'm sure they will be at some point. So I don't know what the EPA hasn't changed their limits yet. But when they do, we'll have to deal with it as it comes. But the good news is here in the village, our water is non-detect on the PFOA.
And the limit for lead is like 5 parts per billion, right? Somewhere around there?
15.
15, okay. So this is 3 orders of magnitude lower requirement.
That was a good lead because I'm going to lead next.
I'm sorry?
So that was a good lead.
Oh, that's right. I
That's
forgot
the
about that.
next topic.
But lead's what you always think about, but this thing is 3 orders of magnitude
Right.
lower.
Yeah, because lead's parts per billion.
Billion, right, this is trillion.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think I was looking through the article. I think I read somewhere that the EPA for the PFOAs is possibly looking at parts per quadrillion. I'm not. I couldn't find it in that article, but I thought I read that somewhere. But don't quote me on that.
All right.
But anyway, as far as our water here, it's good as far as that goes. The only thing that we don't know, and I've had this discussion with many guys, is I have a funny feeling at some point they're going to start having us test it out of our wastewater, because the belief by a lot of us, including some people at the health department, is that that's how it's getting into the water. So, because it gets into your wastewater and then it leaches out into the ground.
Oh.
It's not hasn't been proven, but it makes sense to me.
All right.
So I haven't heard it. Who knows what's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll deal with it as it
We'll
comes.
deal when we get there, right?
So, so transitioning to lead.
Yeah, lead.
Again, the EPA changed the lead and copper regulations last year. Yeah, last year. And there's a bunch of different things. Some of it has to do with how it's sampled, but and they're looking at lowering that limit from 15 to 10 parts per billion.
Is that all right? Okay.
I haven't had confirmation of any of that yet, but what we did get from the state was part of that change from the EPA is they're requiring removal of lead service lines and any lead lines. And
wow.
The mandate that we got is we have to do a lead service line replacement inventory of the entire system by October 16th of 2024, which sounds like way away, but I mean, there's somewhere around 700 service lines to do here.
The lead inventory of the service lines.
Right. So what that means is we need to document what type of service line is on the public side, which would be from the main to the curb valve, and also on the homeowner side, or the private side is the way they refer to it, so from the curb valve to the building or house. Yeah. Every connection.
How do you do that?
you might have to do a lot of digging, unfortunately. I was reading again, which I read yesterday. The city of Newburgh's been going. They have like 5,800 connections, but their system dates back before Millbrook, so they estimate they have like 2,500 lead service lines. So they've already started, but they've excavated and done, because if you don't know, the EPA is requiring you to prove it. So I can't say, well, geez, I did that one 10 years ago. I know it's not. I can't go with that. I have to have some kind of proof. So we might have to do a lot of excavation. So, and I got a whole spreadsheet. So I got all these different things you got to put together. And you got to submit to the state, and it's got to be updated annually.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a big undertaking. So it's something we have to get started. I'm thinking probably of putting something out to the public because if you got to get inside a building to look at what the line is inside, it'd be nice to let someone, even if they took a picture and sent it to us. I mean, there's multiple things that we can do. So we'll have to put something together, get people.
But the connections, I mean, if they're using solder to make connections.
That's different.
That's different? Why?
We're talking about the actual pipe.
Okay, fine.
Made of
I
lead.
don't ask why, but fine.
What I've been told from the state is if it's a copper pipe with lead soldered joints, it's deemed a copper pipe.
All right, fine.
So they're talking about just strictly the pipe being made of lead.
All right.
I believe 90 or to 100% of the ones in the village are copper, but I can't go, I can't prove it, except the ones I have pictures of, and the ones I know, like say the high school, which was put in 2006. I know it's not. Stuff like that developed. Places like Alden Terrace, Alden Acres, all those were done in the late 80s,
yeah,
90s,
new places.
after lead was banned.
Mm-hmm.
So those things, we have documents on we can put. So those are kind of like easy things to do. But some of the older buildings downtown that date back prior to the water system going in. Yeah.
Okay.
So
if I'm a typical homeowner and my house was built in the 60s, let's say, was it typical at the time that they would have had a copper connection between the main service? Because I'm thinking, like, I've got front lawn and stone walls and blacktop driveway, between my interior connection and where it goes out onto the lawn. And I don't even want to think about trying to prove where that connection is and have to dig.
Right.
To go look at it to verify to the state that my house built in '64 doesn't have a lead connection between the meter and
right.
inside.
And that's the big issue, and the other issue is expense, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like who's paying for it? I've read that some towns just do it all. Some towns have been telling the homeowner, you got to pay to have that replaced, because the EPA is telling you have to get rid of it.
All right.
If we have it.
Well, the first thing is to do the inventory. We have to do by October of next year.
2024.
24.
Oh, 2 years.
2 years.
Oh, okay, fine.
Again, sounds like a far away.
All right, let's work on a plan of how we're going to do the inventory.
Right.
We'll talk about replacement after
Right.
that.
No, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's
Yeah,
attention
okay.
because I want to get the ball rolling. I need to access things. We might have to start excavating, curve valves, because that's the easiest part. You can find it, the curve valve, you see it, you can go down, you can see both sides of it.
All right.
Instead of digging up the road. So.
Okay, come back with a plan. Let's talk about that. All right, good. Sewer?
All right. For June, total effluent flow is 4,108,691 gallons. Average daily flow
I'll
is
take your word for it since it didn't show up on the chart. Okay.
Performed all monthly maintenance and sampling. Cleaned the filter beds. Royal Hall, the dry sludge dumpster. We disconnected and capped off the sewer line that went to Carroll Hall. As Bob has mentioned, we rebuilt 3 manholes, one on Reservoir Drive, one at the intersection of Front Street and Franklin, and one on Deneen Road.
Yeah, okay.
And we have put out the bid request for the pipelining work, which is due August, what's the next August meeting?
Yeah, August is the
Yeah.
date, we'll come back on that.
I have had a couple questions from people wanting to know about insurance requirements. I didn't have an answer for them. So I don't know if
You
we,
can find out, right?
I don't know what insurance requirements we need, but
Would you know?
I'm
No?
not sure. No.
So we just use a recent quote that we, like the guys who did the retaining wall, just reference whatever they had. This is their liability insurance in case they.
I'm assuming, I mean, I've never done bids,
Oh.
so I have no
I don't know if we
idea.
ask Mary.
I'm sorry?
I don't know if we would want to ask Mary or Nimer, or I'm not sure what.
What's the project?
They're asking what insurance, what liability insurance coverage they need to have in order to put a bid in.
Yeah, for what work is going to be
It's just
done.
pipelining. I mean, I've had it done before in the past, but I've never had it bidded out. Because
But as part of the
cost.
quote, I know, I
Yeah.
see these quotes where they
I mean,
have
usually it's
defined liability
$1
coverage.
million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate. That's kind of a standard, but for something like that, that's probably sufficient. You could ask Nimer what what the typical coverage is.
All right,
They,
I'll do that. I can just go look at a recent quote too. I mean,
Yeah, just
okay, fine.
let me know. So, I told him I'd ask. I have
Okay.
no idea.
Right. And if we find out, we'll put it on the bid on our website too.
Okay.
Just help.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Yeah, question.
In terms of the testing for chemicals and stuff, is it required, have you ever tested for like pharmaceuticals or, I don't know, there's a recent news report this week about Roundup being in the vast
Everywhere.
majority,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done it in the sewer or the water or
No,
required or.
the pharmaceutical thing, I've been waiting for the DEC to start requiring it, honestly, because I've heard a lot about it. But there's nothing required. We do test for various pesticides and herbicides and whatnot. I can't pronounce half of them, but the list is lengthy. We do that every year. Because we are surface water influence, we're required to sample anything that's in the state regs annually. So we do almost everything.
And all that is
That's-
published in the water quality report,
Correct.
right?
I thought it wasn't surface anymore. With the
Oh,
new
yeah.
No,
system.
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it
It's
still
it.
is.
Yeah.
The new system was put in because it was.
So
We had to
what
filter
we do is
it.
we filter it down to 1 micron to prevent any bacteria type things to get into the water.
But it's still.
Because it is exposed, it's constantly exposed.
It's surface water source, meaning we're not going down 700 feet to some vast pool of water. The water we are actually using to feed the local population is surface water that's been treated to make sure it's been filtered and treated.
So the answer to your question, Peter, is no, we don't test for those kinds of things. We do test a large number of chemicals on the other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the chemical breakdown of Roundup. It may be part
It's
of
like
the.
glyphosate, something like that. It was a recent.
I saw it.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been seeing stuff
Yeah.
on that. But I know the one group that's in the state regs, which is SOCs, which is a whole bunch of pesticides, herbicides, and the names are like this.
Yeah.
The chemical names. I can't pronounce that.
All right.
Thanks.
Anything else, Scott?
No, that's all.
Thanks. Okay, Sarah.
All right, so for the treasurer's report, I'll read from the top 4 accounts, and these are for June 30th. Tax account $1,008,080.27. As you can see, we started our tax season in June. General fund $390,993.34. Water fund $94,818.75. And sewer fund $312,379.41. And that includes the bond.
Oh, that's why it's so big. Okay, great.
Yes, I saw that, Tim.
Good answer.
So I know that you guys have received the monthly operating statement. The one that's for this fiscal year, we haven't put in the budget yet in the software. Karen and I will be doing that tomorrow night, so we'll have an updated one for you guys. Speaking of, we are also working on the annual update document, and hopefully we'll be finished by the end of the month.
Well, that'd be a record.
That would be a record.
Good goal. Okay, great.
It's a goal.
I'm dying to see how much our unrestricted fund balance is, given how the numbers keep getting better of our performance versus budget for the last fiscal year. So
yeah.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Yes, you'll be the first to get it, Tim. And I did receive an email that the second ARPA payment is scheduled, but it just says sometime this summer. There's no date. And then, as you can see, tax collection is well underway. We have, to date, we have 45 that have gone unpaid, but they have through November to pay. And that's about all I have for treasurer.
So while we're here, though, let me just go back to Bob. Bob, you wanted to also have the sidewalks ground. You got a bid, an estimate of $10,000 from the company that was going to do it.
Yes.
At the time, we didn't have the money to do that. Now, given that you're able to get CHIPS funding for the oil and stone, do you have money in your budget now to do the sidewalk grounding?
Yeah, we can take it out of the paving.
Okay, fine. All right, and so when's that going to be scheduled?
I think I'll have, now that we got the okay on it, I'll
Yeah.
call him and.
You guys all agree? I want those sidewalks around. He's gone through with the contract to identify where throughout the village. Take care of the unevenness of the sidewalk.
Yeah, there's various places all,
Yeah.
It's not one street, it's just,
No, it's all of them.
yeah.
It was $10,000. The only thing I asked was that they do some kind of a dust control, that they blow water on or something on the.
They have it, he said it's a new system from what it was,
All
so.
right. Well, do make sure he does something about that, because the last time the dust was just too great.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's 100%.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. What do they can do?
He claims it's a better system.
All right.
Would any of that be done on Franklin, where we're planning to do
So,
new?
No.
So Franklin between Front and Church on the south side, no, right?
No.
But the other sides we're going to do, right?
Anything that yeah.
Okay, so that was the only part we weren't going to do, because we're going to be hopefully completing that, if not end of this year, then next year. All right. But the north side and the south side from Church all the way up, yeah. All right. So everyone's good with that? So I want to proceed with that grinding for the, how you got the money.
May I just make a suggestion that it's gonna be on Franklin Avenue, that you contact the businesses to see if there's a certain day that they're closed, so it's not during their business hours? I mean, I know that's a little hard, but I know they showed up at my place like at lunchtime. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of other people, like we almost had to close down. It was that bad.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind, that local.
That would be good to give us a heads up, especially for the business area.
I know it's not.
Yeah, they
guaranteed.
they won't be able to come back and forth. I mean, we can't. Yeah, if they have to come back one day to do one person, they're not going to do that.
Right. So they were there almost like all
Might
day
just
for
have
some
to be
reason.
skipped.
Or maybe they can just schedule it so it's not during lunch hour. Right?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, they can take their lunch. I guess.
Yeah. That's an idea.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's like a lot of businesses are closed on Mondays or Tuesdays, so maybe those are good days.
Oh yeah, no,
you know,
schedule
like a
for
lot of
the beginning of the week.
local,
That's
something like that. You know, going into the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know.
It's busier on Franklin, that kind of thing. The Monday or Tuesday seem to be quieter days in the business area.
That's not, I'll make sure it's a Monday or a Tuesday.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Monday actually probably would be the better.
Okay, Sarah?
So, that's all I have for treasurer, unless there's questions.
Any questions about that? All right, move on.
So, just the clerk updates. As most of you know, that we had the 2 trees removed at the village hall, and I hear where they will be replaced. I have Tim, Nicole, and I have been talking about a sign at the village hall, because a lot of times people don't know where the village hall, or we're trying to direct them, and they're like, they have no idea how to get to us. So I did put a little picture. This is the current sign we have, and most people don't even know it's there. So we're working with Bob to maybe have some signs, and hopefully the next couple months we'll have something for you guys to approve, and it won't be a moving sign or lit or anything like that.
Right, it'll be something like the entrance, the signs for the entrance.
Yeah, it'll be similar to the entrance signs. And a little update on the website. TownWeb's been working on it, and hopefully will be completed by August, maybe beginning of September. But there's just a little sample of the menu. It's mobile friendly, and it's gonna be really nice. So that's all I have for Clark update.
All right. All right, I don't have it on the agenda, but I want to just ask, so the tennis courts, so Peter, how's that going?
I drove by every day practically. They're progressing pretty well.
All
It's
right.
all, the whole surface is redone now. It's all, blacktop, I guess, and they're gonna, I guess they paint it or apply some sort of
Okay.
product at that point. I haven't heard from them directly about when they're planning to
That's
be
what
done.
I finished, yeah. Well, I'm sure it's weather dependent. Do note in the vouchers, the 15,000, 50% is in there. So we're paying that this week. So they all be happy with that. But it looks like that wasn't holding up them doing the work.
Yeah.
So, okay.
On my way down to the meeting here, they had outlined the interior part of both courts with green paint, and they were working on that as I went
Is
past
that
the
right?
courts.
Okay.
So you can now see the outline of where the courts are gonna be, and at a couple of areas that were still papered off, but for the most part, the rest of it is either all black from redoing that surface, or green where you can see the courts.
Huh. So they're actually finished with the surface repair?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
It appears that way. As I said, there's one near the end lines where the serving area is.
Yeah.
I still see paper down, so they're not doing anything there for some reason. Maybe they have to do further work. I don't know. But
Okay.
that's the only part of this paper.
All right, good.
On that, what I noticed was it didn't look like they did around the poles though.
Some yes and some no, from what I could see. But I didn't go close up. I was looking for.
Yeah, I was deciding to go down there, but
Is there primer on the poles or?
well, the cracks around each pole, and some of them look like they were still green. Maybe they're not done though. I don't. So I don't know.
Most of them are. The one I've seen previously, the ones where there's problems around the pole are the exterior parts of the court, not the interior
Right,
where
yeah,
the nets
yeah.
are. It's around the outside. So that may be something we have to look at before they go away to make sure that they haven't not done that.
Only because if it might just
Yeah,
spread
it's
again.
just going to go right back again. It's a water invitation.
Well, Peter, you want to talk to him, or should we get somebody? I don't know. Want to help to take a look at that, or what?
Sure, I can inquire. I mean, I know, the cracks is the main issue, obviously.
Right,
So
right.
I would assume that they would be dealing with
Part of that as
with
well.
all of those before
Right.
they do, anything
Right.
else. But I'll
Check with him.
see what's going on.
All right, good. All right, good to see that on the way. Okay, is there anything else? What else?
Then just building permit.
Oh, the building update. Okay.
So June wasn't super active, as you can
Yeah,
see.
right.
We had 3 building permits, but we had a lot in the past couple months, so total fees collected was only $200, and 3 building permits and 2 certificate of occupancies were issued. I don't know how detailed you want me to go on this.
The problem is this, the planning board Matt Anderson came forward and asked if we could update our code to specify that as part of the review and approval process, that they'd be able to they require putting a sign in front of any building that's going for an update. Right, so if there's an issue going to the planning board for a new garage, that we want to put into the code a requirement that a sign has to go up, and what she's done and pulled the information, this is from our Pleasant Valley.
Yeah.
What they use in Pleasant Valley is a requirement as part of the review and approval process that the homeowner or business owner has to allow the planning board to put a sign in front of the residence so that people know a change is being considered.
Right.
Right. This is in addition to sending out letters
Correct.
to the adjacent.
Correct. So this just would allow for the planning board to be able to put a sign for that. And this is just a sample one I found online. So they have a variety of different kinds. They have even some that have like a QR code. If they
Was that a QR code that you use? Okay.
If they want more details than what's put on there. So there's a plethora of different signs. So
This is one looks like that they quote in the blanks as they deem fit.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'd like to have this added to the code as part of us going to review and update the chapter on vehicle and traffic. We're supposed to be reviewing next month.
Okay.
But I could send it to you.
So if y'all take a look at that, any questions or comments about that, let us know. Otherwise, we'd like to bring this forward in conjunction with the next change in the code.
Correct.
All right?
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay. New business, we talked about the tennis courts already. Mike, we got an update on the community development block grant?
Sure. Okay. We have not received any official notification of an award at this point. There was a draft report that was sent out to the mayor and on something called the draft 2022 action plan, and that's something put out by the county where they announce potential CDBG grant monies for that program as well as for HOME grants. And in order to be able to allow people to comment on that, they have to hold a public hearing that goes from July 20th until the last day of comments. The last day they'll accept comments will be August 5th. So during that period, the public has an ability to look at the notification of where the federal government and the county are going to work together to give money to municipalities. And we are on the list of potentially getting a sum of money, but it's not formally approved until they go through the public hearing process and then actually give us the award, which hopefully is going to be coming, but it's nothing.
It looks very positive.
It looks very positive, let's put it that way. So that hopefully will be coming on August 5th. Now, just so people are aware, once we're given the award amount, then we will be asked to sign a contract with the county saying we're going to use this money for a certain express purpose, and that contract usually is good for a full year. You can get an extension on the contract period if circumstances prevent you from finishing the project in a year's time. But it's usually a year's time. So I know you had made contact with the supervisor from Red Hook, I believe.
No, the mayor of North.
Mayor of Milton. I'm sorry.
Who just redid the sidewalks.
Who just redid sidewalks, and she kind of laid out a very nice program and said, well, if you're going to do this, here's what you have to do, and that is you're going to have to sign and return the contract with the county that gives you all of the the agreement, legal agreement. Then the next step is you have to get your engineer and get together with your engineer and the county and state DOT and other people involved, like Scott potentially involved, who would be looking at the implications of tearing up the sidewalk and replacing it, and have a walkthrough on at least one, if not two occasions, so that it's clear on what we're going to do. Then the person in charge, which at this point be Renia Engineering, has to have actual plans that they draft that are very detailed and exactly what needs to be done. Then the DOT has to approve them, the county has to approve them, and all that has to be done before you can even set up your bids to send out the procurement of the services. So
Yeah, let me tell you, when I talked to the mayor, this is Jen Nasdaq, Mayor of Millerton, she was overwhelmed with positive words about Contact, the company that did the work. Not going to be the same people who did our retaining wall, all right? Couldn't say enough good things about it. Where things really fell apart was the engineer, general contractor, in the middle of all the approvals you just talked about, and all these handoffs required between the county and the state and the contractor. And that's where things really fell down. And so she said what's really required is to get a very good engineer interface to run this program.
yeah, and the engineers will hopefully be your project managers
That's
who will
what
stay on top of all of these things. But my experience when I was doing this, even with our engineer in 16, 17, and the process is, it is incredibly time consuming and you can't rush any of these people. You know, you will get it's a DOT for a month and a half, when are you gonna look at our plans? Oh, we'll get to it.
Yeah, okay.
And you get that constantly, so, you know, it's very frustrating because you wanna get started and get going, but I know we were toying the last time we went through this, you know, getting the crosswalks done before we had the Festival of Lights parade the following December, when our contract was gonna run out.
Yeah, okay.
It was nuts. So, you're in for a ride, because this is gonna be going on from, you know, if we get the award from then, all the way until sometime in 2023, by the time we actually get done. And it's gonna be, the binder that I accumulated the last time was a 6-inch binder that was absolutely full, just the paperwork.
And that was for the intersection with the stoplight, yeah.
Right, and so it's gonna be a lot, and we're gonna be shelling out money, because you've gotta pay your lawyers who are going to be looking over the documents, you're paying your architect, you're paying your engineer, and that's even before you get your contractor involved who's going to be doing things. And you don't get reimbursed until each step of the process gets done, and in the end, your engineer, architect, project manager is only going to be paid a slice, a percentage of what his actual charges are. Last time I think it was, we'll pick up $2,500. Well, that you know, we've got a bill for many of them for $10,000.
Yeah, right.
So there'll be parts of it that are just not going to be covered, and that's just the way the people who are giving you money expect that you're just getting a slice of what it's going to cost, and the rest is on you. And that's the way they operate.
Okay. By the way, what about the RINIA invoice? I sent out an email to the trustees asking approval to pay that invoice, which totaled $7,400, which completed that first phase of the contract. The contract was for $10,500. They basically changed what they actually did, but what they provided us was, I'm going to say, more than adequate for us to be able to get the CDBG. And it covers both sides of Franklin from front all the way up to Maple, which really is going to take us years to actually, finish the actual work of that. So based on that, I think that's sufficient. I did ask for confirmation from RINIA, I haven't got feedback yet, to say that this satisfies that part of the contract. So don't come back to us later for another $3,000 because we're not going to pay the $7,400. That's it. Does the board agree with that?
No, that's
You
fine.
okay with that? Okay, good. So I'll give the go ahead. Once I hear back from RINIA to confirm that we're in sync on that.
I'd like to keep a good relationship with them because they're going to be crucial
Yes.
going forward for the next 12 months to get this done, if we get the award, which is likely but not guaranteed.
Okay, good. Anything else on this CDBG?
No, that should be it.
All right, good. I already talked about the retaining wall. Just to let you know that we can't pay the bill until we get the second ARPA payment.
Right.
The retaining wall is paid by $144,000 from ARPA and $150,000 from the bond. That retaining wall. All right. And that's to get us to $290,000, which is going to cover the engineering costs as well as the contracting work. Right. Okay, next, Buffy, last month we talked about the parking in front of LeBeau. You were going to check what's the MBA position. on continuing that no parking area for the whole.
Yeah, so Kevin McGrain and myself went down and visited with Air Bay and took a look at the tables. Air Bay is definitely interested in continuing outdoor dining. He says, he only has a couple of tables now. There's customers who like to sit outside. But looking at the tables, they are directly on the sidewalk. So pedestrians do have to step off the sidewalk to get around.
Including carriages, baby carriages.
Yeah,
stuff,
everything.
right?
And he did say that he does put the cones out, but I walked past there the other day and both cones were knocked over, whether it was from car or wind or whatever. The NBA, thinks that it's great for the village to keep encouraging outdoor dining. It makes it look active, it makes it look alive. It's a short season, for restaurants to extend their seating. So that's sort of where we're at. We just have to come up, and Labo is sort of the exception of making it safe there. So, we've talked about several different ways to do that. By, putting barriers there, the cement barriers or something, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the solution is.
So even though he still wants to do it, is it really, again, this is the NBA, is it really worth the risk of, having the impact on the pedestrians?
Well, I think that would be for the village to decide, because I don't think it's the NBA who is in charge of the sidewalk or the safety of the pedestrians or any of that. The NBA is to support the local businesses. So that falls back on the village to say whether they want to continue that or not. And if they want to continue it, I would say it's up to the village to come up with a solution.
And I think we shouldn't continue it. We have a solution for bar grills, we have a solution for the diner, right? I think there's a table in front of the cafe. Is there still one? I don't know if I've ever seen right there. But those are
The cafe
okay.
does still have one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are okay because there's adequate sidewalk space.
Yes.
In front of LeBeau's, we don't have adequate sidewalk space.
And same with Nutra's if they wanted to have outdoor dining.
Yeah,
they
which they
have
don't.
They don't, but if they wanted to. So I don't know, I don't think it's the NBA's place to, police the sidewalks. I think that goes back to the village. I just think that the NBA has the mindset that encouraging outdoor dining during the season is beneficial not only to Lake Bow, but to our entire village and making it look like a thriving, lively village.
I want to encourage up to the point where there's a safety issue with either the diners or the pedestrians.
I agree with that. I just think.
So as a trustee, what's your position?
Well, I think if we could come up with a solution that isn't too costly, to, make some type of barricade there. I don't know. I don't know if it would be something seasonal. I'm not sure.
Okay, Mike, what do you think?
I think Bob might have I saw him, gesturing like he might have an
The
idea.
bottom line is it's against code. It's breaking code, it's against the village code. You can't block a sidewalk with anything, snow. And what's made it even worse now, he's put umbrellas in the street. So if you do walk into the street, you gotta go
Way
around
out,
the
yeah.
umbrellas.
Okay.
And so you're pushing people further into the street.
Yeah, but New York, extended the outdoor dining for restaurants.
Is what, extended?
Yeah, it was extended through, I don't know, I think maybe this season. Last I heard that they extended the outdoor dining, whatever, so I'm not sure how that goes against our code or. Yeah.
It still requires us to make sure it's a safe
Absolutely.
situation, right?
Absolutely.
Peter, what do you think?
Ian, if there was an incident, somebody got injured, what's our liability?
It wouldn't be any different than if somebody tripped on a sidewalk or in the street. You deal with the general rules for municipal liability. There's going to be a notice of claim, and You know, in this situation, typically municipality hasn't, or for a municipality to have liability, tort liability, there's got to be evidence that they knew of the defect, right? That there's a pothole, there's some notice that the municipality got that there was this defect.
So someone has to complain about it first. And
Right.
then
In this case, if you're creating the situation, then that's probably not going to be an issue. So it's certainly a concern.
I would add too that I took a picture the other day from aesthetics concerns, since the MBA is very concerned about aesthetics. We have 4 cones, plastic tables, plastic folding chairs on the street. Aesthetically, I don't think that's.
They're not putting too much effort into it. That's for sure.
Are those just tables on the street or on the sidewalk?
I think they're on the sidewalk.
Yeah, okay. So the tables are on the sidewalk, the cones are in the street. Again, this is going back to, as a pedestrian, you have to walk into the street between the cones and the sidewalk to get around.
I mean, they do have barriers that you can just fill with water that are legal that you can put out there, for.
I don't want the village to get into putting barriers out and taking barriers back. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the problem is also the alternative we came up with last year that was equally not appreciated with closing the street for certain hours.
No.
And you can't go back to closing the street. And my big issue when we first talked about outdoor dining 2 years ago was I didn't want people in the street, and we've already seen enough pictures in New York City of people driving into barricades and some of these outdoor structures. It's to me it's an accident waiting to happen. Even if we don't have notice of claim ahead of time, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out if we make people get into the street to get around with a baby carriage that there's an inherent danger there. So unless we're willing to invest in real life cement barriers that somehow could be there, then I don't see how we can let them go into the street to get around. And then you've got a traffic issue. Because if you put in barriers, you don't have two-way traffic anymore.
It's not two-way traffic because you're just putting them in the parking spaces.
You're just putting parking spaces, yeah. But
so that's not, but then you open up a conversation for other people who say, well, I'd like a barrier so my pedestrians are safe or something like that.
So I'm of a mind to want to go back to the goal and say, no, you have to stop taking up the parking spaces. And you
Has
can't put
anybody ever inquired about the property right next to it?
I'm sorry? Oh yeah, they pursued that, yeah, the empty,
He wouldn't let them go.
No.
That's a definitive no.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but
Even
it's
for a
not very
fine,
creative.
I would pay
Yeah.
it.
All right, so,
That's too bad.
you all agree that I should go and tell them that they have to stop?
I think it's a safety issue, and I know it's unfortunate, but I think, yeah.
I agree. It's very unfortunate.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I should tell Kevin as head of the MBA.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell Kevin as part of the MBA just so he knows what's going on.
Oh, he knows what's going on. He's not probably live on YouTube.
Oh, he's live on. Oh, okay, fine.
You know Kevin. He knows what's
So
going
Kevin, give me a call if you have a problem with that, but that's my plan.
on. He's calling you now, probably.
Yeah, he's texting now.
Pretty steady.
Okay, good. Any trustee updates beyond all the stuff we've covered so far? Let's go, Mike.
Just two quick things, and that is, we were awarded the ability to have someone called a local champion, which means that there's a person who has volunteered to take part in a program which will allow us to follow up on our pledge to be a climate smart community, and have this person trained to be able to take a course for the next year where she will be investigating and getting certified to know all 100 types of projects and programs that she could bring back to the board for approval in order to become a climate smart community and earn points towards that kind of certificate. Her name is Genevieve Lassen, and we're one of 10 communities that were given permission to join this program for free, which is great. It'll help immensely. Jen's focus is going to be to, as I said, learn about the possibilities of programs that the village board could do, and also see what we might get credit for some of the things we've done in the past. Things like being a tree city for 26 years, or having a shade tree condition, having trees be addressed in the code, and things like that. Anytime will get us points. And the second thing, and this is also the problem that the town is running into now, is she would automatically be the head of the Climate Smart Community Task Force and be able to dedicate at least 10 hours a week of volunteer time to be able to do that.
Right.
And trying to find somebody who's willing to volunteer that kind of time is pretty rare. So they have been extremely lucky.
Oh, good.
I've met with her twice. Once at Stonewood Farm week before last, but she's exposed to doing composting at the village level and how we might be able to make that work as an idea. And she was going there to look at their program. And I gave her a tour of the village on Monday, where I took her around and showed her all the sites where we've done tree planting projects, whether it's the village tree planting project in 15-16, or whether it was Trees for Trips program that we did on Deneen Road in 13 and again in 15, or just Arbor Day plantings where we put in trees. And she was very, very happy, very grateful to get the tour, and said she would be making a video down by Deneen Road as one of her assignments, talking about the DEC helping out in that area. And then in terms of the shade tree program, we had 2 people who had agreed to take trees at this point, but it's taken such a long time to get arrangements. It's now too hot to plant, so those trees will have to go in the fall. And we have to decide how we want to do the plantings, because the company that had been doing the plantings in the past supplied the trees and the service to plant them, and now the service part of it, to actually plant the trees, has been sold off to someone else. And the prices I got for planting 2 trees was extremely expensive, and more than double what we paid in the recent past. So we're gonna have to talk about how we wanna deal with that as a board.
Obviously, you talked to Dennis, who said that Bob could plant 1 tree, but there's a second tree is much bigger. He didn't think that was appropriate for Bob to do it.
Yeah, but it's a 4 caliber, which means, 4 inches around, and it's gonna be silver maple, and it's at this point with a tree of that size, if we did it now, then the homeowner would have to water on a daily basis.
I understand not doing it now.
Yeah, but even the planting is a little more complicated than just digging a hole.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So that's that. I attended a WIC meeting on July 1st, the Watkins Intermunicipal Council, and a CAC meeting on July 6th with a little report from both meetings.
Okay, thanks. Buffy?
No further updates.
All right. Peter? Okay, one thing I like to be thinking about is we're hoping to get an update on the vehicle and traffic code changes next month. I'd like you to think about what it should be the next chapter we go after. This is months in the future. Where in the code do you think we have the biggest exposures? We should start talking about updating that code. All right? And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make that motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.